Video in support of Christian Morris's objection to planning application number F15A/0362 before Fingal County Council regarding Techrete. Case history number 1. Malahide Marina Village. Malahide Marina Village is the single worst development in the history of Ireland. While there may still be those who kid themselves that Malahide remains a desirable place to visit or live in, rather than the reality of its being an overpriced, cramped, boring, pretentious dormitory town, or even that Malahide Marina Village has brought some improvement to the area, it hasn't. Such a notion is increasingly hard to defend. Malahide Marina Village looms over what had previously been a relatively small and modest fishing village in North County Dublin. Although further from central Dublin than Howth, and lacking Howth's beautiful scenery, Malahide retained many similarities with Howth. Such likeness ended when Malahide Marina Village came along. It should always be remembered that the sole purpose of Malahide Marina Village was to let a builder make money. The notion of the place having any kind of broader social role would never have arisen. That smugness remains in a subliminal way with its offensive overall character, a self-satisfied concrete monster hogging the best spot in town, unavoidable from any angle, of no greater good to the community or the country, obstructing everyone and everything else. A drive through Malahide Marina Village, itself a struggle because of the continuous traffic flow which is its eternal legacy, reveals a dreary, overbuilt concrete jungle where banal tower blocks huddle together around sunless, windswept yards which are, these days, filled with the white vans and other vehicles belonging to those who rent flats there. Malahide Marina Village is an almost perfect example of the clash between fiction and reality that seems to be the mainstay of Irish planning and building. While the fiction presented by the builder in the first instance was surely a promise of basically a shining castle in the sky, and nothing less than a jewel in the crown of North County Dublin, the reality is an unappealing, dense, high-rise scheme of cheap flats and small houses which has permanently and drastically spoilt the environment of Malahide in multiple ways, and also which has not aged well. In Ireland, most people do not want to live in flats. They want to live in houses with their own bit of space, front and back. Case history number 2, Dún Laoghaire Library. What Dún Laoghaire Library has in common with Malahide Marina Village is that those who approach Dún Laoghaire from any angle including the sea are likely to be provoked into thinking, how was this let happen? Dún Laoghaire Library is different from Malahide Marina Village in that it does not have as profound an impact on its entire area, and furthermore, the building itself is of architectural merit. Also importantly, it is a public facility with ostensibly noble intent, whereas Malahide Marina Village was a scheme to let a builder make money. Alas, Dún Laoghaire Library is in the wrong place. Certainly, the unique Victorian and Edwardian frontage which defined Kingstown, particularly the view from the harbour of the landmark Royal Marine Hotel, has long been lost by other high-rise developments of roughly the same likeability as Malahide Marina Village. The imposition of Dún Laoghaire Library has been the last straw that broke the back of the town's attractive esplanade. In that context, Dún Laoghaire Library has a malign character because it stands as a monument to political failure, an affront to the public will, nicknamed Keegan's Folly after a certain person, and an affront to the principle that the people have real means to stop bureaucrats, unelected or otherwise, from riding roughshod over them when a majority of them, in good faith, wants something stopped. A civic building should not be a focus of anger, resentment or demoralisation, and overall, Ireland's civic buildings tend not to be so. Dún Laoghaire Library is an example of how a community found itself with unwanted building, and how the existing planning procedures seem to have completely failed the people to whom it mattered, the primary stakeholders as the jargon likes to call them. Case history number 3, the Blágh Hotel. Blágh Hotel overlooked Sheephaven Bay in North County Donegal, about 30 kilometres northwest of Letterkenny. A large hotel catering to a mainstream market on a high point overlooking both Blágh Harbour and Horn Head, two great beauty spots, it had got rather run down in its final years, although it stayed reasonably successful until its closure at the end of the 1990s. Along came the builder. As seems the precedent, the planning application contained all the usual aspirational guff, which promised a new Jerusalem on the Donegal coastline, whereby the builder would demolish the hotel and replace it with a newer hotel and flats, all tastefully blended together in one paradise of a holiday development. Instead, what the people got was 3 isolated blocks of flats and a very big hole in the ground. This is meant literally. The moral of this story is crystal clear. Do not trust builders and do not trust politicians, particularly in local authorities. How a perfectly good hotel ended up being replaced by a big hole in the ground for 25 years is secondary to the fact that Donegal County Council let this happen at all, and that, since then, nothing has been done to rectify it. It would be hard to find a better example than this of the incompetence, laziness and bad practice for which Donegal's long-term public policy has become notorious. Sheephaven Bay, the broader area running roughly from Ard's Peninsula to Dunfanaghy, is probably the worst instance of bad overall planning anywhere in Ireland, and one of the most striking examples of how such bad planning ruins a whole community. In that regard, the community of Sheephaven Bay has suffered even more than that of Malahide. Malahide at least has a successful commercial base, including hotels, restaurants and shops, whereas the economy of Sheephaven Bay, especially Blágh, has nearly collapsed. In 1975, Sheephaven Bay had 6 hotels, of which 4 were in Greater Blágh, including Marble Hill, and the remaining 2 were in Dunfanaghy. Blágh Harbour had a general shop including a post office, a large garage, now derelict, and 2 pubs, as part of the 2 hotels in the harbour area, including the Blágh Hotel. With the exception of 1 hotel in Dunfanaghy, all of these have now gone. There is no pub, hotel, shop or garage whatsoever in Blágh. What happened? In short, too many holiday homes, of very mixed quality, were built in too close an area and not enough attention was paid to enforcing a better balance of development. Short-term gain won out over any long-term concern. Sheephaven Bay has a glut of holiday homes, vacant most of the time, which have spoilt much of the beauty of the area while bringing no long-term benefit to the locals or their businesses. Indeed, the holiday homes have surely contributed to the evisceration of Sheephaven Bay's once thriving hotel industry. The Blágh Hotel is a classic example of a failed development. Had Donegal County Council insisted that the builder replace the hotel first, before any of the lucrative and quick-selling flats were built and sold, this failure would not have happened. The people who, in good faith, bought flats in the Blágh Hotel are in no way to blame for this situation, and indeed deserve sympathy. They didn't expect to wake up each morning to look at a large hole in the ground. Case history number 4. Bundoran. Bundoran is at the other end of County Donegal from the Blágh Hotel. That is not the only big difference, and Bundoran stands in stark contrast to Blágh, inasmuch as Bundoran has managed to remain successful as a popular and lively holiday resort, an attractive community that hasn't been wrecked by the builders or the planners.
One of the things that you notice in Bundoran is that although it wouldn't necessarily be as upmarket or as smart as some places, they have managed to maintain a balanced plan of how their tourism works here. So in other words, you can see hotels and B&Bs and hostels and guest houses and holiday homes and caravans. But there's a sense here that one of them hasn't become unbalanced and has become over heavy to the expense of all the others.
Bundoran has abundant, spectacular scenery and one of the nicest beaches in Europe, Tullen Strand. An active town council had asserted litter and rubbish enforcement, and antisocial behaviour is not tolerated, even though the town has a wide and vibrant nightlife. Increasingly, a wider range of people frequents Bundoran. Older people like the country and western music, while the nightclubs and bars provide a well-respected live music scene. In more recent years, the quality of surf on Tullen Strand has brought in an entirely different clientele: surfers. Bundoran works because there is a balance of all types of development: flats, holiday homes, council housing, private homes, caravans, hotels, hostels, guest houses, shops, pubs, restaurants, and leisure facilities. There is no sense of any one of these dominating any of the other, nor is there a sense of anyone in business being greedy. There is robust competition between all of them, so the standard of service and attention remains high. There is a strong positive lesson to be had from Bundoran. When a balance of development is strictly enforced and encouraged, everyone wins.